Welcome, family. Welcome to another episode of Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani. This episode is titled Our Biggest Enemy is Poverty. It's a quote taken from Iam Marwa, a YouTuber in Kenya who has transformed his life, the life of his family, and also is transforming the lives of his community. And it's interesting to watch as he transformed his community, as he transformed his family, as he improved the lives of those around him. And he comes back to the issue of what is causing the problem. And and as he begin to help people and he begin to interact with people, he begin to notice the enemy, the the backlash, the those who wants to take him down, question his integrity, questioning his honesty, and Marwa rise above it, and he tried to take the moral high ground, and he says that the enemy is poverty. Our biggest enemy is poverty, and I think that's very profound, and I think that that concept, excuse me, require us to think about it, to talk about it. Why would it be that somebody come to help? Somebody comes to provide an opportunity to help transform a community, and yet still there'll be those who want to tear him down, those who want to see him fail, and then there will still be those who wants to criticize, who wants to belittle and call you all manner of negative things and accuse you of being a scammer, a cheat, a liar, a thief, even though you're trying to help. What what's the psychology behind this type of thinking, this type of behavior? What's the psychology of it? Why do we feel it's important for us to behave in this manner? Why do we feel this way? And it, as Marwa said, it is rooted in our poverty, because poverty create the idea of scarcity, create the idea of lack of, a lack. It's an idea, it's an existence based on lack of opportunity, lack of resources, and also in many cases, a lack of education, and in some cases, lack of morals, lack of decency. You lack your humanity, and you lose sight of that because the poverty have tapped into your depravity, and you begin to function in this depraved mindset, this poverty mindset. And it is a big issue across Africa and across the Afrobean, aka the Caribbean. And I'm sure in many other parts of the world where poverty exists, where impoverishment exists, you have the psychology of anyone who comes to help. You're cynical. You you you're doubtful. You want to take him down. You cannot believe that somebody could be honest. Somebody can genuinely want to help. We don't have to agree with everything someone does. We don't have to agree with every opinion, every aspect, every decision, every choice any individual make. But what would cause someone to want to tear the person down for helping, for bringing progress, for bringing hope to a community? You would go out your way to try to tear this person down. What would be the motivation behind this type of thing? And that's a deep psychology. And I proposing that it is also the poverty psychology. We don't expect goodness from people. So therefore, we aim to tear them down. And I know there's also these so-called reactors that have no decency about themselves. It is so blatantly hateful, resentful. It's so obnoxious to even watch them. And I've been watching it for a while now and seeing the negative reaction to the positivity that Iam Marwa has been doing in his community. I start watching them and I must say in Kenya is some of the most vicious reactors I've ever seen. And I've seen some of them now popping up even in Jamaica. I've seen some negative reactors are popping up. And I'm trying to figure out what is motivating this type of negativity, this type of resentment towards progress, towards you see somebody helping somebody and you look for the most negative aspect of it. If one penny drop on the ground, you say, oh yeah, he drop a penny to come back later to get it. One penny, he could be sharing out $1 million. And if $1 drop out of his hand on the floor, that's what you focus on. Why? Why? What do we get out of this? And I know as well, the motivation is views, and views equal money. So people, those who thrives on the negativity, people want to see that, they want to hear that. And as a result, they get views and they get their revenue. Imagine the same person who you're making the content about is also providing you with views and revenue to make you can eat. And that is now your career. You have to find something to tear down in this man, or your viewers don't want to watch anything positive to say about this particular man. In this case, I'm talking about Iam Marwa, a YouTuber in Nabohanse in Kenya, probably the YouTube capital of Kenya, who is doing so much for his people, doing so much to end the poverty, to combat, to wage war on the poverty that exists. The poverty, he says, is the greatest enemy. Now, I acknowledge that, and I respect that. But now I must ask a question. What is the cause of poverty? Is poverty an accident? Is poverty a natural thing that just happens? Or is poverty a systematic creation? Is impoverishment a systematic thing that caused some human to be trapped into this cycle of poverty or very basic living? And they have learned to adapt to a certain life, to a certain low level standard of living. Such as I grew up in poverty as a youth. I grew come see a home without no light. We used to have a buckle torch. We fill the buckle with kerosene and we stuff paper in at the top of it and we light the paper and that was the light for the night. And when we want out it, we just out it until tomorrow morning. And we had 3 stone and we use wood, fire, wood stick to create the fire. And that's how we cook our dinner and our breakfast. You know, see it. So, and that was poverty. But when you're in that situation, I never knew I was in poverty. I never knew that at that time, when I was a little boy, living like very basic life, very little clothes, very little food, barely got a bed to sleep on, no light, water you have to carry on your head. I mean, when I was around 8, 9, 10, I was carrying kerosene pan full of water from the pipe when the pipe come on, because most of the time it's rainwater. When the pipe come on, we have to queue up, line up, and you fill the kerosene pan. And I mean, I don't know if many of you out there know what a kerosene pan is, but it's like one of them big 5-gallon plastic container. But in them time that it was pan, it was made out of aluminum or metal or something, but a kerosene pan we call it. And we fill it of water, and we have to put leaves on the top of it to keep the water from splashing out. And you make a kata. A kata is like you take a rag, a t-shirt, and you fold it up, and you put that on your head. And then on top of that, now you lift it up, and you get somebody to help you. You lift up the kerosene pan full of water on top of your head, and you walk with it. And I had to walk at least 400 kilometers to go home, to go empty the water into the drum on the side of the house. And that was poverty. And I was very young. I was less than 10 years old when I was carrying out these things. But at the time, I didn't know that I was poor. I was impoverished. I didn't know that. As a matter of fact, I was enjoying my life. It's only when I became conscious and became older, I realized that man was actually charting the course to the moon. They was heading into the stars, into space. And here we are living like we're just coming out of the Stone Ages. What created the dynamic where there are some people who are ultra luxurious or ultra progressive and ultra developed, and then there's some people that is underdeveloped, and we're living side by side, contemporary in the same world, where there's an abundance of resources in this world, but yet still some people are trapped in a cycle of perpetual poverty. And these are the things that we don't normally talk about. We look at the poverty as it exists now, and we try to fix it. And I commend Iam Marwa. I commend Color Smith TV. I commend Jamaica Life Nice with King Nick in St. Elizabeth, and many others who are intervening and try to improve the lives of those around, those in our communities that are suffering, that are living in abject poverty, who are fighting for the next meal, who don't know where the next meal will come from. So I commend these works, but I like to look at the deeper systematic issues that is driving, that's creating this condition, where so many people across the continent, so many people across the world are living in this abject poverty, and yet still there's one man on this earth with over $300 billion in assets or value allocated to one person. That is an issue for me. The level of inequality that exists is unacceptable. There's no justification. There's no moral justification for so many millions of our people are living in this abject poverty. So many grandmothers, so many children are living in this low level, the state of underdevelopment, that we have to speak about it. I am watching now Davy Jr. This is Iam Marwa brother. He is currently also helping another grandmother in that community of Namohansi who's living in abject poverty. A very lovely grandmother, full of energy, full of life, always dancing, always happy. I love that about her. But she's living in a one-room mud hut. They call it mud hut, but it's a one-room mud house. They have zinc. The zinc is modern, but the house itself has no window. It's more of like a triangle shape, and it is made of mud. They took mud off the ground and actually pack the mud together, pack it against the wood. They will use tree wood or tree limb to make the inside of it, the frame, to make the frame of the house. And then they will pack it on both sides with mud. And this particular grandmother, living way in the bush, and she's living in that one room, and she has her kitchen in that one room. She cook with wood fire in that one room. And she has her animal, her goat and her cow. And at night, she has to bring those goat and cow, if she have one or two, she brings them into that same room. So she sleeps in the room with the animals. And she cook her breakfast and dinner in that same one room. And all her belongings are in that one room. And that is what the condition she's living in at this moment. And Davy Jr. have brought his camera in and shed light on this situation. And now the viewers and subscribers and the donors are contributing. They're sending money now to help this woman. So they are now in the process of building her a new house, a modern house. So they're digging the foundation and they're laying the bricks or the rocks. I mean, in Kenya, that's how they build their house. The foundation is built first with rocks, and then they would bring in the other stuff, the concrete and the steel, and then they would build from there. But the foundation, but first time seeing, I've never seen the foundation built like this. But there's a science behind it, and it is very firm. And I think by building it with stone, it allows water to pass through the bottom of the foundation, and it doesn't affect the strength of the house. And in Jamaica, we use steel. In Kenya, what they call the steel? We call it steel in Jamaica. The steel, they call it iron bars. I think iron bars. Yes, that's what they call it in Kenya. So we make the bedding, we make these frames, frames out of steel, and we tie them together long and stretch it along the foundation. And then we pour concrete on the steel. And that's how we make the actual foundation for the house. And then we'll build it with blocks on top of that. In Kenya, they put the rocks, and then they would put whatever material they want on top of the rocks, and then they would start building the blocks on top of that. They would concrete on top of the blocks, and then they would start the foundation up, and they would create this. They have these iron sheets that they run through the middle to keep the house stable. In Jamaica, we run iron bars or steel on some people every other block or every block. Most people's every other block, and that would help to give the house a more firmer foundation and solider walls and all this stuff. So you get to see different culture doing different things, and it's fascinating to watch other culture and other people build, and you learn from it. Because I love building, I love constructing, and I would love to be involved in a lot of construction in the future. And I know I'm getting up there in age now, but I'm hoping to be able to be in a position in life where I can go out there and build and make a difference in the lives of people. And this is the kind of poverty that I'm seeing, and the kind of intervention that is also taking place, the kind of progress where I am just so pleased with with how our people are responding and helping and making lives better for people. It is so important that we contribute when we can, we assist when we can, and we begin to intervene into this situation. Now, we have to look at the political situation. We have to look at the neo-colonial condition our people are living under, that has created this high level of impoverishment that needs to be eradicated, because poverty is our main enemy. And if we are to eliminate poverty, we have to eliminate the cause of poverty. And again, we have to look at the historical injustice that we have experienced as a people, how the African continent was underdeveloped deliberately by colonial powers that have sucked the resources out of Africa, that have exploited the labor of African people. And that energy, that value that was developed went towards developing colonial powers, European countries, and also countries of North America, like Canada and America. They are the main beneficiary of the exploitation and degradation, enslavement and colonization of African people and other people around the world. Was utilized, was colonized, and used to build up the countries of Europe, while Africa and many other parts of the world were left impoverished, underdeveloped, and did not benefit from the progress of industrialization, who was deliberately kept out that process. So we have to talk about it, and we have to systematically look at these structures that has created this condition. And they have walked away after they've been defeated. We have defeated them during the period of enslavement. We have defeated them during the period of colonization, and they have retreated back into Europe and continue their exploitation through neocolonialism. They have maintained the same system, the same inequality. They maintain it from remote control. They are now remotely controlling the economy and the conditions of African and other people around the world. This is what is happening. And we, as African people, have to wake up that if we are to change the condition, if we are to eliminate poverty, we also have to challenge the relationship that we have with neocolonialism and with the former colonial powers. And now with these new imperialist forces that is operating in Africa and the Caribbean, aka the Afrobean. We have to look at these things. We have to begin to analyze these causes and how can we eliminate them? How can we uproot the inequality? How can we address this imbalance of ownership of wealth and in the distribution of wealth? And what are the structures in place that is maintaining this order that is become a stumbling block in the way of progress? Why the resources are not being distributed where it is most effectively needed? Why are we not investing heavily in the educational system of Africa, particularly Kenya and many parts of the Caribbean? Why is that the case? Why have there not been a strong, radical effort at decolonizing the mind of African people and releasing the power of African children and African youth? Would Africa have such a great youth population that's rising up now? Why isn't there a great effort to eliminate the poverty by investing in the youth, investing in training, investing in getting them quality education, preparing them for leadership to take over their country and to run their economy? Why isn't there not an effort to apply scientific development in the school system? The scientific infrastructure that's needed to build a technological infrastructure in every school in Kenya, in every school in the Caribbean, in every school across Africa. When we know that education is key to our liberation, but we cannot continue to reinforce the colonial education. We have to decolonize the educational system that it exists in Kenya, that exists across Africa, and exists across the Afrobean. We have to do that. So what is preventing this? What is preventing us from devoting X amount of our budget, a significant portion of our budget to address the mental state of our people? Because you have to transform the mind. And once we get our people trained in high technology, because our youth are very clever, Our youth are like sponge. They're ready for the best in African culture. You teach them high-level African culture. Preserve the culture of Kenya, of Ghana, of Jamaica, of Trinidad. Wherever we are in Nigeria, you preserve that. That is paramount. That means you have to Africanize your institutions. You have to Africanize the school system. You have to Africanize your community. That is what we have to do. The way we dress, the way we speak, the way we conduct ourselves, the way we treat our elders, that has to be maintained. That value system has to be maintained. But we also got to root out the negativity, the poverty mindset, the colonial mindset has to be rooted out. The greedy mindset, the cynicalism. We have to teach the value of the good values of our ancestors, the best values of our ancestors, the Mahatical principle of our people, the Ubuntu principle of our people. We have to be committed to that kind of transformation within our school system. And the resources is needed. We need to put it there. The priority need to be put there if we are seriously to eliminate poverty. Right now, across Africa and the Caribbean, one of the most significant sector I see is growing for the youth them is the YouTube industry. The YouTube as a company, Google as a company, had been one of the first company to revenue share with common people. The BBC never share their revenue with common people as a media company. NBC, ABC, all those big major network, Rupert Murdoch and many of those other media magnate and moguls, they never share their revenue with the common people. YouTube broke that mold. And don't get me wrong, Google is a company whose main purpose is to make money, to make profit, to maximize their profit. However, they realize that by allowing common everyday people to make a little bit of profit, a little bit of income, it benefits them even more because people are interested in the content of the common ordinary people. So that was a breakthrough that helped many people around the world to live a better life by when Google allowed that little bit, the little crumbs off of the table to trickle down into the hands of the ordinary people. Now, make no mistake about it, Google is making billions upon billions. YouTube is making billions upon billions of dollars, but the little that was able to trickle down in the hands of the common people, it goes a long way because of the level of impoverishment that exists. That little bit of resource can go a long way in improving the lives. And that's what we see taking place now. Lives in real time are being improved because of the revenue sharing that is taking place with these big institutions. And others have been resist. Facebook have never given their common people any share of their revenue. They kept all of it for themselves. And that's where a lot of people have drifted away. The content creators have drifted away from there because they realized that they were being used by Facebook. But now YouTube are giving them the opportunity to earn an income. And I know that even over there in TikTok, there are a lot of revenue sharing mechanism in place. So that is the future of social media, revenue sharing. But for me, my emphasis is on the fact that you can see in real time people's lives are being changed. And not only from the revenue of YouTube, but from the connection that the platform has been able to create between African people. Those who are living in that impoverished condition and those who are living in a more affluent situation, who are been able to make a breakthrough within the Western world, went to good school, got a good job, making a good income. They're able to look after themselves, and they may have a few dollars to spare, and they themselves can also fund projects. So in addition to what the income from YouTube, the uh, income from the donors, from the supporters, from the viewers, the good-hearted people who see the poverty, who see grandma, who see the orphans, and who are willing to help. Because even that situation with orphan home in Kenya, that is a deplorable condition. Those children are living under. But there's hope there. And people of the world, the goodwill people, people of good heart, they seize that and they want to help and they contribute towards that. And that is to be welcome and to be appreciated. So these are the mechanisms that is helping to improve the lives of many of the youth, them across Africa and the Caribbean. I've seen it. There's a place in Portland where Portland is probably now the YouTube capital of Jamaica, because almost every youth have a YouTube channel in that community. And the same can be said about Nabohanse, the community where YouTuber Iam Marwa come from. That is also almost every youth in that community is a YouTuber. And their lives are improving. There's a smile on their face. There's hope. You can see it. You can feel the hope that it provides to them. And that is something that we have to look at. Will we ever get to a position where our government can provide that level of hope for our youth? Now, admittedly, it is a shortcut, because you can bypass a lot of years of training and a lot of years of using your mind, and all you need is a camera or a smartphone, and you can realistically come out of poverty. You know what I'm saying? And build a better life for yourself and your family just by, recording interesting content every day. That is one way out. But a country economy cannot be built on YouTube. It has to be built on serious development. We're talking about plumbers, electricians, carpenters, These are the elements that build a society. These are the civil engineers. We need, the drivers of the heavy equipment. That's what drive economy. Infrastructure building, institutional building. We have to build these infrastructures to have a sustainable economy that can feed millions and millions of people and build homes for millions and millions of people, to build schools to accommodate the millions of children that has been born, and hospital to take care of the injury and the sick. We need real economic progress. So while we respect the fact that YouTube is helping, we know that in the bigger scheme of things, that alone cannot solve the problem that Kenya faces. That the shantytown or the ghetto, or I don't know what you call that monstrosity that exists in Nairobi, where have so many hundreds of thousands of people living. I don't think that can be solved with YouTube. That requires systematic transformation of that society, to be able to bulldoze the whole place and rebuild it to be a modern, acceptable dwelling where people can have proper home, proper rooms, proper toilets, proper sanitation. A serious commitment to that. We cannot tolerate that. Wide open in 2025. We have to say no to those things. And that is what we have to ask ourselves. When will we get to that place where we can make that commitment? What is stopping us from making that commitment when we know there's billions of dollars of value available? And the Western world, when they don't have the money, they use credit to build. They use credit. The most indebted nation in the world right now is the United States. They're in debt in the tune of $36 trillion in debt. And that doesn't stop them from building. We should not allow debt to stop African and Caribbean countries from building. We should employ, if we're going to play the game of neocolonialism, we need to play it right. We need to play it to the highest level. We need to use credit to build our own economy as well. Use credit to invest in our youth. Use credit to build the infrastructure that we need. We have to do it. It's a game that's being played. And we're at the end of the stick. We need to play this game, this economic game at the highest level. If you're going to play in the game of imperialism and the game of capitalism, you have to play it at the highest level. We have to make radical change. African people, Afrobean people, we cannot continue at the pace that we're going. We will never catch up. We cannot play the game by the rules that they have laid down and the pace that they have set. We cannot govern ourselves by the clock, by the schedule that they have set. We need radical change. We have to speed up the process of development. We have to radically develop certain sectors. We have to radically decolonize. We have to radically Africanize our society. It's imperative for us as a people. We cannot play the game at the low level. We have to play it at the highest level. And it's time that we wake up and understand that. And somehow our political leaders have to play the game at the highest level. I look forward to neocolonialism to be done away with, and a new level of leadership takes over that put all effort, all resources, everything into what needs to be done. Something like what we see in the Sahel states. That revolutionary process needs to be replicated across Africa and the Caribbean. And my people, I use Caribbean and Afrobean interchangeable because I believe that land is over 90%. That whole region in the Caribbean is over 90% African, is Africanized. In my opinion, that should be renamed the Afrobean because we have to take agency. So I just want to just put that in perspective. While I agree that our biggest enemy is poverty, the biggest cause of enemy is inequality and historical injustice. And we need to address them. You have to eliminate the cause of poverty if you want to eliminate poverty. If you want to radically, dramatically eliminate poverty, you have to eliminate the causes of poverty. We need homelessness to end. We need hunger to end. We need criminality to end. We need to tackle the cause of crime and criminality and the level of robbery and stealing and scamming. They're all rooted, most of them are rooted in poverty. We need despair to end. Desperation must be eliminated. Our people must live with dignity, must live with a sense of purpose and decency. And I just want to thank you, my people, for coming on this journey with me. This has been Clear Thinking with Brother Dulani. Do share, do like, and do comment. And do subscribe to my program. Because I notice, my people, that content like this don't get a lot of viewership, don't get a lot of subscription. And we are coming with a decent approach, with a clean approach. We're offering a clean glass of water amongst all the dirty water that we are drinking. But this type of content the algorithm don't pick us up and push us out. But I'm asking you, my people, African people, goodwill people of the world, allies of justice and people who love people, subscribe to this program. Allow it to grow. Allow it to get out there. Because somebody has to come and add to the progressiveness, add to the positivity, add to those who want to see better, who want to see the end of injustice and inequality, who want to eliminate the poverty that we see so many grandmothers and grandfathers are living in. There are still decent and good people out here who want things to be better. But somehow the algorithm doesn't push us out there. And I'm asking you, like the program, subscribe to it, comment, and together we can make this world a better place. Now, walk good, my people. Walk good. Take care of yourself. Until next time, Ashe, Asheo.